This is an update on my Dodge Travco motorhome. I'm on my way back home from about a 2,400 mile trip. Went from Texas to Las Vegas by way of Forsyth. Boondock for 3 of the 4 weeks. And I'm on my last stretch to home. When I did my install and I was chatting with people, the Travco group and different groups, maybe a bus restoration group, they said I wouldn't like my choice of rear end gear ratio, which is a 331 gear. I hope you just noticed she just took off real good. She's no slouch on the giddy up and go. The Allison 545 transmission, it's actually 542, the only difference is the depth of the pan. It has a real low first gear, so the 331 gears doesn't hamper my giddy up and go at all. The only question was how much guts would it had at the top end. My last fill up, it said I got 13.89 miles to the gallon, and I've been getting 12.5, 13.5 consistently, so I'm in that neighborhood. Between Las Vegas and Phoenix, on my way home, I was on Highway 93, and there was quite a few hills and some pretty steep grades. I might have seen 45 miles per hour on an uphill grade maybe once, but I'm on a grade right now, and there's plenty of acceleration. I just put my foot into it, and I went from 60 to 62 right there. I mean, she'll hold her own real well. What I was after with my call here was a cruising speed of say 65 miles per hour, not wide open. This engine is trying to came out 91 Georgia Boy motorhome, and the rear end, and the front axle for that matter. And the Georgia Boy setup, they had 373 gears. The Allison's got a 1-to-1 ratio, so it's not an overdrive. And wide open, they do 64, and that just wasn't going to cut it. That'd be 2,600 RPM, 64 miles per hour. Now at 2,600 RPM, who knows what I'd be doing. But I can maintain 70 on flat ground with my foot backed off the throttle a good bit. That's what I wanted. I didn't want it to be running like crazy just to do a highway cruising speed. I'm not looking to do 75, 80 miles an hour. I'm not really looking to do 70, but 70 is not bad. I'm just looking to do a reasonable miles per hour and good fuel economy, and which I've got. I'm happy with it. Right now, I've got a couple concerns that I want to address. The things that I think could be better. I think the steering could be better. I took it to get aligned at a local truck shop in Stephenville, and they didn't know anything. I used to do alignments on trucks, so they tried blowing a load of smoke up my ass. They told me that the rear axle was out of, the caster was out on the rear axle. There's no such thing as caster on a rear axle. Caster has to do with the wheels tracking back and the steering wheel wanting to track while being pushed straight. There's no caster in any way, shape, or form on a solid rear axle. That told me I needed to pay their bill and run. But if they were a true truck alignment shop, like I said they were, they could have aligned this front end. All they want to do is get some money from me, try to build a list of repairs and soak them. That's typical with repair shops. That's why I'm scared shitless of it. So anyways, I want a steering stabilizer, heavy crosswinds, and we get passed by semis. It can be kind of nerve-wracking, but it's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, I can hold my own, and the 2,000 miles, or 4,000 miles on these tires, there's no sign of wear. So I don't think my front end is out of alignment as far as camber and toe end. None of that's changed since the Georgia boy. But the relationship of my axle as far as caster, the tilt of the axle, very well could be off. And it steers so easy that I do believe I need some more caster. But I want a steering stabilizer, make sure my caster, make sure my whole alignment's good. And on my steering shaft going to my gearbox, Dodge uses a squirrely looking thing instead of a U-joint. I forgot what it's called. But anyways, I want to replace that with a U-joint. I believe there's a fit for that. Anything to stick any little bit of play, but it's pretty tight. This Dodge only had 12,000 miles on it. 12,986 to be exact, because the gauge speedometer is still in here and it's not hooked up. Not since I'm with the diesel, and I'm using a GPS instead. Eventually I will put the speedometer back in, but I wanted to run the 331 gears and make sure I was happy with that before I bought the adapters to adapt the speedometer to be correct. So steering I want to play with, I think I can make it better. And part of that is I put a stabilizer, I put a sway bar on the front end, and it helped a lot. It was the one off the Georgia boy. And I've got another one that's off the Georgia boy for the rear end. I'm going to see if there's a way I can install it, but it's going to take some work to get that underneath there. So, I think it can handle it a little bit better, but it's doing fine. The next thing is the brakes. I got 4-wheel disc brakes off the Georgia boy on this thing. This motorhome is considerably lighter than the Georgia boy, but I do have heavier tires on. I went from 8R 19.5s to 9R 22.5s, and I went to the taller tire to get that cruising speed I wanted. So maybe the rolling mass of the heavier tires might have a little something to do with my braking. But overall, I think I can do better with braking. I actually think I might just need to bleed them a little bit better. But I'm going to evaluate my rotors to make sure they're all working, functioning properly. They're all kind of stiff when I took them up the Georgia boy. It sat for probably 15 years on the coast, so I had to play with them to free them up. So perhaps if bleeding doesn't fix them, I'll replace my rotors, and then I'll look at the hydro boost, because the video on YouTube of me going through the hydro boost, it didn't work worth a damn until I went through it. But I'm still not happy with my braking. Yeah, I want my braking to be something you just set the foot on and ease down on the pedal and it stops. Now I pretty much got to stand on it. But the braking is a shitload better than the Travco had. That Travco was a son of a gun to try to get me stopped. And the reason why I think it might be the bleeding is I can hit the brakes and then let off the hood again real quick, and it stops the tire and freezes substantially. So I'm thinking I got some air trapped somewhere. That I was in the mountains of the Guadalupe Mountains, and there's some pretty steep grades that I wasn't expecting, and I rode the brakes pretty hard, and I had one brake, the passenger side, I think, front, got pretty hot, which tells me we're not all equally getting hot together. So I gotta get that taken care of, and I really think that when I get that taken care of, she's gonna stop real good. But anyway, she runs great. Quite a little noisy, but she got to come and sit right here. I had some acceleration issues when I took her to Tennessee this summer, and I was blaming it on the gearing, and it was pretty bad. It was still fine, but it was not what I was hoping. And I sat up one night and I said, you know, let me double check that throttle, make damn certain that I'm getting a full travel out of my throttle. And lo and behold, I was missing a teeny weensy bit. So I adjusted the throttle. And I did the same to my pickup truck. Going to this intersection here, when I do, we'll pour the coals to it. Get through the intersection. Okay, I'm going to mash down on her. That's wide open. And I think it's accelerating just fine. I'm on a little bit of an incline. And I got a pretty steep hill coming up. And really, a lot of times I can hear this turbo start acting. There it goes. I don't know if you hear it starting to spool up. I'm pulling the grade and she's accelerating. Slowly, but she is accelerating on a grade. And that's plenty fine. Let's see if I can hit 60 something on this grade. Come on, baby, give me 60. It's not going to give me 60. It's getting pretty tall right here. But anyway, I'm happy with it. I'm pulling her grade at 56, 57 miles per hour. And I got more grade ahead. I'm kind of leveled out. Now let's see what she'll do. You know, I got a little bit to go. Come on, baby, give me 60. You're only going to give me 59 before we hit the grade. I'm going to back off. I'm mashing pretty hard. Anyways, I'm doing pretty good. I'm pulling me a car behind. And I'm tickled to death with my motorhome. I'm tickled to death with my motorhome. I'm going to work on those issues and make them better. I mean, but I drive this sucker anywhere right now. Got the power steering line coming off the steering box in Parker, Arizona. And I was in a Walmart parking lot and it was tight. There was a lot of motorhomes in that parking lot. And I had it steered hard all the way over and my front tire went up on the curb and I'm not sure what did it, but that cracked that line. So I had to go get a new line. Well, I had to go find parts. And that's not easy to do in Parker, Arizona. And in the process, my little car took a dump on me. What I wound up doing is I wound up buying a double flaring kit, and I just cut her back and I double flared it and put it back on. So I ordered adapters. Now if you got one of these old Travcos, the steering box has got an 11/16-18 thread inverted flare nut. It's for a metal line, and it's got a 5/8 18 inverted flare. That means I had to use a metal line coming off of there, and that line was probably about 8 or 10 inches long before I had a hydraulic fitting brace to it, and then a hydraulic line from there. But I think that metal line vibrating contributed to the crack. So I purchased two adapters, one 11/16-18 and the other one 5/8-18 to number 6 JIC male. So now I'll screw those adapters on and I got a male nipple to hook a hose to directly to the box. So if you got one of these old rascals with that setup, you might be happy to know you can find the adapters out there. And I got mine through Summit Racing. I've got a 6-gallon Marine water heater on here. My plan is to build a water solar panel and put it on the roof. It's going to be kind of narrow, certain length, and I've already got a 12-volt pump, and I'll put another solar panel on the roof to run that pump. There's enough solar to run the pump, and I'm going to assume there's enough solar to heat the panel. So anytime I got sun shining and my pump running, I'll be running hot water through my water heater, warming up the domestic water. So that's one of my plans. Like I said, I have a 12 volt, small 12 volt fridge. It's come out of a semi. Got the compressor, it's a regular fridge. And the solar panel keeps up with that real good, real good. It runs for approximately 1 minute every 7 minutes. I think that's what it was. So, I'm actually in Stephenville, ain't that something? Cut through town here, 11 miles on the other side, I'll be home. Anyways, I've got a propane refrigerator on board that works really good, but I did not use it on the trip. Anything I needed to keep cold, I kept cold in the little. Therefore, I think I'm going to go ahead and buy a 12 volt full size, well not full size, but you know, the same size as the propane fridge, and install that and get rid of the propane. If my solar will keep me up on the refrigerator, then I really don't want propane. I probably still got 70% of my propane on board. That's just, I cooked, I baked, hot water, hot chocolate and oatmeal were pretty regular. I baked biscuits and, you know, I use the stove a lot. And actually, I was telling my wife when we were putting the rig together, let's get rid of the stove. I'm glad we didn't. She didn't want to get rid of it, but it's nice to go bake some biscuits. And that worked real well. So if I can not have a propane refrigerator, I can go a mighty long time with my propane on board. And if I get my heat exchanger for my shower working, my hot water, then I won't need propane for that. But then I'll reevaluate because I don't want to waste a lot of. I could probably wash my shower that way. I do got a deal to turn the nozzle on and off. The whole thing's about conserving, right? If you're boondocking, I could still be. I left Quartzsite almost 3 weeks ago. I could still be in Quartzsite, not having to start it. I really love that. So, anyway.